Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen. I am your host, Kareem Bowen. For this next hour, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into this conversation. I hope that you guys have had a wonderful weekend. It's time to turn that thing back around and get back into the grind of another weekday coming up just a few hours ahead. But we are here. I see you guys coming in our social media stream. I want to give a shout out to those of you as you come. Let's like, tag, and share this conversation with those that we love, those who are around, those who are community activists, and those who just like to be in the know. I'm in the studio, of course, once again with my main man, the Rob. Father Rob, what's good with you, my brother?
I'm not, man. I'm doing fine. How are you?
And he's good. Yeah, I'm doing well, Rob. It's good to see you once again. You're looking good, suave, debonair, all the things that a black man should be.
That's right.
All right. For those of you who are coming in, we certainly thank you for your time and attention. We certainly appreciate your continued listenership. You guys and your conversations, and those of you who are out there, you guys make us the number one talk show in the Michigan Bay region. We appreciate it so greatly. I say that and I speak that by faith, not just in our target audience, Rob, but in the Michigan Bay region. So get ready to hearing that. Get used to it. Look at this. Mama Bowen is in the first one in the stream. Rob, you give a shout out to her. You know, it was her birthday last week. She's feeling herself. She's feeling sexy and sophisticated at her new age. I'm not going to say what it is.
Shout out to Geraldine Bowen.
All right. So,
Walker,
yeah, so we're glad to have you today. Today, we're going to talk a little bit. There's a lot that's on my mind. So I want to make sure that we get there. But today, we're going to talk about, what Black America needs to be looking forward to, the things that are confronting Black America in 2023. There's a lot of things that are on my list. But before we do that, you know how I do. I want to talk about what's on my mind. So I hope you guys give me an opportunity to share what's on my mind and listen to what we're doing. The first thing I want to say, give a shout out to those young people of the Dow Treasure Academy. You guys were absolutely phenomenal with your youth march against gun violence. I was so proud to be one of your coordinator, program director, executive director, but the mentors. From the kids, from registration, all the way to those who were speaking, those who were managing, doing facilities. Rob, it was absolutely phenomenal. You had to be there to be able to really appreciate how our young people stood up. They were speaking out, sharing, and speaking truth to power about what needed to happen. I got to give, I guess, my gold star. All of them were absolutely amazing. But the gold star for the event, I'm going to give out two. And they're going to be for different reasons. What's up, my man? Terry Reed is in the stream. I want to give a shout out to my man, Ivan Phillips. Ivan Phillips Jr. You guys may know his dad, but the young Ivan Phillips, he gave an impassioned speech about gun violence. He made those who were in participation take a pledge and say, hey, we're going to stand up when we see something. We're going to say something. It was so powerful and profound. Then the other gold star goes out to a young man who it was so funny. His name is Travion. And Trey, he took a stand and he told me, Mr. Bowen, we had covered every area of the march, Rob. I said, you know what we didn't cover is we didn't cover how you lead this march. And we gave him a few examples. And this young man went to town. He came up with chants. He was energetic. He was poised. And his artwork was absolutely amazing.
Cool.
And it was what made the news. They were showcasing his artwork because he is an artist on the news. And so I was really blessed and proud of all of them. I'm so proud of my Saginaw community, all of the youth that came out. Hundreds of people participated in that event. And I'm so proud of you all. This is not the end. This is only the beginning. And oh my goodness, my mama, my boo thing, whatever you want to call her, I love her, I love her, I love her. Jackie Wade, as I told you guys to say a prayer. She was having a few complications. She is back. I talked with her for a very good while the past few days. Mama, we love you. Mama Wade Day, we love you. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. As always, we appreciate you. And I thank you. I can't wait to get you in. You always giving me everybody else that needs to be a part of our conversation. But it's time for you to come in here and talk about the amazing things that you have done from working with prime ministers of islands to working with, Magic Johnson, Penny Hardaway, everybody on the planet who is somebody. Tyler Perry, she's got people that are in his plays. You are a celebrity in your own right. Uh, Probably one of the very few people that I know that can pick up a phone for anybody that you want to talk to and get them on the line right away. You have been a great blessing to me, and everyone who knows you has been blessed by your presence. So I certainly want to give you your flowers while you're here today. All right, so let's continue on. The next thing that I want to talk about, y'all let me know what's going on. Rob, come on, man, you military. Now, we saw this whole thing with Donald Trump take place with the documents. He's no longer in office. They search Mar-a-Lago. They find boxes of documents. They say they don't have any. They find more documents. Now, Joe Biden, they were poised. They promised that they were going to get even and start searching Biden stuff. Okay, I mean, he had a little head start. I don't know what happened, but now, what's the 411 on this? They're dropping in on his private residences. They're finding at 2 locations, and then in a garage, 2 locations in the one spot. That's 3. Now they're saying they went to another private residence. One thing y'all need, these presidents, to be president, you can't be a broke brother. They got all these residences. They find more documents at another private residence. Rob, what's going on here?
Frank, first, truth is that Biden himself put out the invitation for them to come search the house. But to talk about classified documents, should make clear to the public how this works. There's a difference between classified that has a certain date and sensitive information. And I only know this because I had a top secret clearance. I was in the Navy.
Oh, my man.
So I've dealt with a lot of classified information, and I had to. There was always
hold on. Don't y'all like the way he just said this? I had a top clearance, top level clearance security. Yeah, I dealt with a lot of classified. Come on, don't be trying to upstage me, Rob.
No. I'm just saying, because in my field I was communications, and I dealt with crypto, and had to. So my job is communications,
security,
right? So it's possible. It's always possible for you to take something that's deemed classified at a particular time home if you're working on it. Now, if you forget it or it's declassified due to new information, whatever it is, maybe it has not been officially declassified. So we don't actually exactly know what information or documents or how sensitive the documents that Mr. Biden had. Anymore than we know how much the sensitive stuff that Trump had, except for the Trump situation, some of the stuff was current from what I understand that he was talking about. And a lot of it was very sensitive because of the high level clearance beyond top secret that he had in his possession. So the difference is, until they tell us exactly, yes, we know that the king of Gibraltar was sleeping with his wife, whatever it is. Someone's not his wife. That may be classified for informational intelligence purposes, only to find out that was like 30, 40 years ago and it's been declassified to other sources. So all stuff they find out now is a lot of it is just to be
okay.
Open, close.
This is what I want to know. Okay, because I started saying, is this stuff being planted? Is it possible? Is it possible? No, I in my conspiracy theorist mode, is it possible that these documents have been planted?
Not to go back to as far as when Biden was a senator, before he became vice president. I don't think it's being planted or anything like that. I don't think that. No.
Well, it's happening. We'll see what takes place. I think the more that we find,
you'd be surprised that a lot of congressmen, a lot of people who work in intelligence,
taking files home.
Taking files home.
Absolutely, I think it happens all the time. I think we trip because I know if you came and search my house, you find many classified documents. I guess with people's information that are in my home. But it is what it is. There are laws. I think the more that we find on this current president, the less the last president has to worry about it. I just wish, I can't say I wish they both just go away because we do have 3 more years of this current president. It is what it is. But anyways, I want to get the brothers are shaking, y'all. The brothers are shaking out there. If y'all listening, we should. Nia Long, who has declared her singleness, she said that she is single AF. And if those of you out there in social media, you know what that means. She was seen in public with Omarion at a red carpet fair for a new movie that was opening up. Now, he's a former leader of B2K. Now, when I think of Omarion, I think of a kid, right? When I think Nia Long, I think grown and sexy. And for somehow, little kid and grown and sexy don't go very well together for me. But I guess if you're looking at the fact that she's been married and her husband turned out to be less than honorable, and so now she's single. She's gonna be single and ready to mingle and just have some fun. But if you take a look at the video that they showed on Instagram, she was pulling him around like a little kid, and he was smiling ear to ear. I think any man would be. But it was given off very much Janet Jackson and Jermaine Dupri, if you ask me, Rob. And what I mean by that, those of you listening, you understand what I mean. Janet Jackson, who is really constantly one of the most sought after women in hip hop slash R&B pop, whatever you want to call it. She was fine. She's been fine since she was street, so she was grown and fine. And, everybody was interested in Janet Jackson. And we found out that not Jermaine Jackson, but Jermaine Dupri was dating her. It would be kind of gross if Jermaine was trying to date her. But hey, the Jacksons are a very colorful family. And no telling what might be going on. But anyways, Chris Rock came out. He was in one of his stand-ups. He said when he saw Janet Jackson with Jermaine Dupri, he was like, we had a chance. We all had a chance. And that's what the Nia Long and Omarion is giving me. Hey, but it's kind of interesting if you think about it, Rob, because it's kind of like a Hollywood switcheroo. Omarion's ex name is April, and April is now dating one of Nia Long's castmate in the Best Man series, Tay Diggs, and they've been in a relationship for about a year and a half or so. And so when we look at Hollywood, everything goes around in cycles and circles. But hey, Nia, if that's what you're doing, hey, stay single. 6 months to get it out your system. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy the dating scene. But come on, remember your reputation is still stay grown and sexy. I don't want you out here dating some young thug or whoever. Keep it classy so that you always are that consummate, beautiful girl next door in our eyes. Ain't that right, my brothers? What are you going to say, Rob?
6 months to get out your system.
Yeah, you got to work it out your system. I think that whenever you've been in a long-term relationship, you got to take 6 months out for yourself to work on yourself, to detox yourself from that previous relationship, to make sure that you're completely over it emotionally, mentally, all of those things. And I think a good 6 months detox is good for you to make sure that you're ready to move on and go to the next relationships that you're not carrying. Because what often happens, Rob, in any situation is that when we leave one relationship, we pack those bags and then we carry those bags right into the next relationship. And then we try to figure out why is this relationship, which started out great and wonderful, turning into the last relationship. And it's because we started unpacking that baggage that we brought from the last one. So everyone, I say this to everybody out there, make sure you're taking about 6 months to just detox. Enjoy yourself, enjoy your life, and get to know yourself. Find what you love. Get reacquainted with yourself, what makes you tick. And I think that's an important part of personal growth and personal healing. Yeah, and Rob is looking at me like, 6 months?
I say go with the flow. Do what you need
No,
to
Rob,
do.
no.
I don't put a time limit on it.
Well, I think I'm just giving you.
Speaking as one who was divorced, and been married for 20 years, and been divorced for 16 years. I'm just saying, I think it's up to the person. If 6 months is what you need, fine. Some people need longer. Some people don't need as long.
Well, I'm just saying a minimum of 6 months.
Minimum, okay.
Yeah. And we all need 6 months. We all need at least 6 months, Rob. And when we don't, I tell you, we find that there are pieces of us that we haven't recovered. And oftentimes in relationships, you kind of lose yourself. It's in relationships that are not equally yoked and that may be considered toxic or whatever. And so I say 6 months is a minimum I encourage people to do. Now, if you want to do it sooner, you one of the people who back in the dating scene, do what you got to do. Sharice Steele Phillips says Black women are taking care of themselves to the point where younger men are definitely attracted to mature women. I'm going to tell you, Black is sexy. Black is somebody, Justin Timberlake's bringing sex back. No, Black sexy has always been something. Rob, you play music for the grown and sexy. You should know this. And as we say, Black don't crack. These sisters are looking good at 40, 50, 60. I saw someone the other day and they were 60. I said, if that ain't the finest 60-year-old woman I ever seen in my life, my mother probably like, what, if you don't sit down somewhere? But you're absolutely right, Sharice. They are taking care of themselves and they are making beauty last a long, long time.
As they should. They should do that. Regardless of any relationship or no relationship, they should take care of themselves anyway. Then too, there was a woman here that George Harvey had a show about a month ago. She was 80-something years old and she looked fine. She looked fine for
Rob
her
said
age.
she looked
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, for her age. You would not know she was 80. It's like people say, I don't look like I'm 62. So it depends on
Rob, who lying to you, man? Come on.
hey, I don't feel, I sometimes feel
You
it.
look good, Rob. I
Sometimes,
give it to you.
it depends. It's a thing of attitude, vices, how you take care of yourself,
Absolutely.
whatnot. So,
No, and so I think it's a beautiful thing. I want to just ask those of you out there. I know the Best Man. I don't know if it's called the Final Cut or the Final Series. Is out on Netflix. I have not had an opportunity to watch it. Have you guys been watching it? And if so, is this something that you would recommend? I know some people said that they've binge watched it. Let me know. Best Men, the Netflix series or whatever it is. Is it good? Is it something I need to take some time out and check into? Let me know. I want to give a shout out also. This is all the stuff that's on my mind. I've had some amazing experiences this past week. Shout out to Dr. Mamie Thorns, SVSU, and the Diversity Council on their MLK program that took place on last Wednesday evening. My man, he is one of my favorite people. Bakari Sellers was the keynote. He was the highlight person that was there. Political pundit, author, commentator, and he is an agitator. I absolutely love him. You've seen him before on CNN. He sometimes sits next to that red bone, fine and sexy thing. Angela Rye, I think she's one of the most beautiful people on the planet. And I tell you, she is not only beautiful, but she has great poise and intelligence. And intelligence to me is very sexy. And so Angela Rye, I won't even talk about Angela Rye. I didn't got caught up in my mind, Rob. Things about
so
Angela.
you are a sapiosexual then.
Well,
That's a term.
a sapiosexual.
If you're attracted to intelligence, if that's
Man,
for you.
yes, and I think intelligence is. I saw it. It was good to me, best man. It had some good points. Thank you, Don Bivers. I appreciate your comment. We'll take a look at it then. I guess if you say it, you're a guy who works in that area. We're definitely going to do it. All right. So, Bakari Sellers, great job, great job, great job, SBSU. One thing that I want to make, one suggestion that I would make is that I would like to see the speakers come in and have the opportunity to just kind of speak unfettered and just kind of get into a rhythm and ebb and flow of how they would communicate with people. And then we do the sit down interview kind of conversation. And I would love to have the audience be able to be asked some of the questions that are part of that conversation. I think it would make it a dynamic situation. And so just my 2 cents, I don't know nothing. But anyways, it is what it is. My people, Rob, this is, I think one of the highlights that I have to share about our community. And I'm equally excited about this as I was about what the young people did with the march. My guy, Jeffrey Bulls and CAP, Community Action for the People. I shared with you on last week, and they were here talking about the event that they were doing. They titled it My Project Window, which was interesting because it was a similar title to a book that was written about the Daniel Heights projects, and a brother struggled to get out. But they had this very a great conversation, community conversation on one of their community talks. And they brought folks in from all over the community, sharing about Daniel Heights. They gave some information, tremendous dialogue. It was a great turnout. I saw the blonde bombshell. That's what I call Joyce Harvard, the blonde bombshell. She was there as well, as well as our state senator, the president of NAACP. There were so many people that showed up for this conversation. It was so great. This is what they would have. One of the things that they would do for a monthly opportunity to connect with the community. Now, this is the importance of this. What I love about this is that it is an opportunity for the community to get involved. Oftentimes, you can't make all the city hall meetings. You can't, make the city planning meetings. But what I'm beginning to understand that if you can make a CAP meeting, you can get an update of what took place at city council, what's happening in your community, and then be given the opportunity to become an activist in your neighborhood. There is so much room and so many issues that we're dealing with that everyone needs to get involved. Everyone needs to be actively participating in what's happening. And I want to tell you, Jeff Bulls and Cap, I love the activism. Great job. The food, they had food for everybody that was there. Very nice occasion, well put together. Great job. You're off to just keep it gully. And that's what I love. Rob, I'm gonna tell you. Those who don't know me, man, I mean, y'all hear me. Don't let these articulate words fool you. You know, Kareem likes to keep things gully at times. And I grew up, I didn't grow up in Daniel Heights, but I used to go over there and shoot the lights out of them brothers from the city who thought they was ballers over at the park that was right over there on the north side. And it was a great opportunity. I loved the individuals on the panel. They were not the same old, same old. My brother had so many people that were out there. My guy Otis Ray, who's been working with there's the Michigan Hurricane, the Michigan Stingray. I can't remember what the name of the team is, but he's been working with young brothers in the community, and he's got something coming up. They're getting ready to. He always takes them on a trip so that they can see the world. There are basketball tournaments everywhere. This is the kind of stuff that we need to support. And people can say, "Hey, I don't want to give money because of this," but the fact of the matter is, we're not taking them on vacation. We're not taking them in, exposing them to the world. But my guy is doing it. I love it, Otis. I love what you're doing. And all the other people that were on the panel, my guy Kevin Gregory, who is always, I always call him one of the young philosophers of this age, was a part of that program, dropping knowledge. And there was I would consider her a consummate church mother. I don't know what her name was, but y'all know what I'm talking about if you were there. She had it in black and white plaid. She said that she was on the Human Planning Commission. I don't remember her name, but Rob, when I tell you that the senior got up and she dropped some knowledge on us about how we as a community, we get bought in, we buy into conversations that people sell us, and then we abandon the things that are important in our community, and then we create situations for other people to benefit from the things that are in our community who don't live in the community and who aren't spending dollars in the community. She dropped the mic and walked off the stage. I love it when our seniors are so engaged. Great job, Cap, once again, on keeping the community informed. All right. We're going to take a quick commercial break. And after we take this commercial break, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about today. What are the challenges for Black America in 2023? Come on, stick, stay, don't go away. We'll be back with more Straight Talk.
You're listening to Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on KISS 107.1.
Who are you? I'm you from the future. What do you want? I want to tell you about Dave. Dave has your future money. Spend it on whatever you need. With extra cash from Dave, you can get up to $500 instantly with no interest and no credit check. Download the Dave app from the App Store right now. That's DAVE. Sign up for an extra cash account and get up to $500 instantly. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Instant transfer fees apply. Banking provided by Evolve. Member FDIC.
This week at Macy's, get an extra 20% off with your coupon or Macy's card. That's on top of great savings, like 50 to 60% off coats and buffers for him and for her, 40 to 55% off boots and shoes for her, and 20 to 50% off bed and bath refreshes for the Charter Club and more. Plus, stock up and save with an amazing 25 to 70% off season end clearance deals. Now at Macy's. Savings off sale and fixed prices. Exclusions apply.
Like bones, your teeth lose density and become weaker over time, which can lead to tooth decay. And that can make your visit to the dentist feel like this. But if you want your dental visit to feel like this, try Crest Densify. Crest Densify actively rebuilds tooth density to extend the life of teeth by remineralizing enamel. Densify from Crest, the #1 toothpaste brand in America. Smile, Crest has you covered.
RocketGrabPlus.com. This week's deal on RocketGrabPlus.com.
What's that?
All right. We're going to get half off of a gel manicure and pedicure. It's normally $120, but you are getting it for $60. Or you can save with their shampoo, cut, and deep condition. It's normally $8, but you are getting it for $40. Both of these deals are half off. Head to RocketGrabPlus.com right now to snag your deal. RocketGrabPlus.com.
This is Kareem. We're back with more Straight Talk. Okay, before we get into today's conversation, I want to make it very clear something that I want to do. And this was brought to me. I was talking with a good friend, and they said, Kareem, you know what? How does the Black community, how do we preserve that information that we have when we look at the Austins and all of, the amazing people that have gone on before, the Marshes, that have impacted our community? I said, we don't do a good job of doing that. So I tell you what we're going to do. Normally during Black History Month, I highlight key individuals in our community, and we're always talking about folks like Oprah and MLK, all of these national figures. But there is a great treasure trove of history, Rob. And I believe that we make history in our own communities every single day. And so, what I want to do in the month of February, and I hope you guys are listening and you share in this conversation, is I would like to create a series of, if you would, fireside chats with some of the great notables in our community, some of those seniors that are in our community. Someone asked me about Pastor Bowman and different individuals that are out there in our community and said, hey, these are great people. So I want you all, I want you to share with me, post in our social media streams, individuals that you think have an amazing story that share a key piece of history, Black history here in the city of Saginaw, that needs to have their story shared. Because I have some people that I've highlighted already. I've got Dr. Odell Thorns. He's going to come in. And when I think about the work and the activity that he did in the community as it relates to civil rights and things of that nature, and how he was a rebel rouser, if you would, a community activist, I'm interested in bringing them in, sharing the story, so that our young people, we talk about the issues, Rob, that we deal with on a regular basis. And we say, oh, we had to overcome this and we have these oppositions. But when we look at folks who were actually moving and doing things in the 50s, 60s, and the 70s, there was a level of opposition that we can't even really understand or comprehend. And they did great things even in the face of that opposition. And I think that this is a great opportunity for us to share and to empower them by allowing them to know that their service was not in vain, but to also say thank you for a legacy and a life well lived as they continue to inspire us through the information that they're able to share. And so I'm excited about having those conversations with those seniors in our community. So I want you guys to put some of them in the stream. You let me know who these individuals are that you think have a great amount of information that we need to share. I wish I could have had a conversation with Miss Wicks.
Let me get back to what you said. Though. You said how to preserve that information.
Absolutely.
Preserve it is by passing it on.
Absolutely.
That's what we're supposed to do in our community as our people. We pass on information. So like you're doing right now, using the power of the microphone to pass on information that you learned or that people taught you. So that's how we do that. And anything you learn, pass it on.
And so I want to bring them in, and I want them to share this information so that we can put it between our ears and that we can tuck it in and save it for future generations. Maybe we can use it and be inspired by the fight, the struggle, the overcoming of the struggle that they have had, and we can be empowered as a people. I think that a nation that forgets its history soon forgets its identity. I always say that one of the important things about history, what is history? Records of the past. What's the importance of history? To learn from past mistakes. Terry Reed, John Pugh. John Pugh is one of those guys. When I talk about John, Mr. Pugh, I can't say John. When I talk about Mr. Pugh, he was, when I was in school, the first Black man that I ever saw in an educational facility that encouraged me to get my education, to take care of business. And so I have such a great and tremendous respect for him. I don't care how other people see him or how other people feel. But Mr. Pugh, if you are listening, that is what you represent to me. I've said it once before, and I'll say it a million times over. There was also another African-American teacher, Miss Cheney. She was a substitute. And I know that she was working for a number of years over at Bronco Elementary. She was the first time that I had a Black substitute teacher or teacher of any kind in the school district that I was a part of. And she just kind of leaned in and paid attention. And there was an extra amount of focus that I could see as she was teaching and encouraging us to be the best that we can be. So we want to bring those individuals in who share a great piece of history. I'm not talking about anybody who's 50, 60 years old. I'm talking about our seniors. So I'm thinking 60.
And do it before they pass, because
absolutely.
Howard Sharper comes to mind, who was my mentor, along with Dante Toussaint. Dante's still with us, but Howard Sharper was one of my mentors.
And Howard, a great friend of the family. I call them Pops. I worked with the community organization to get a bench down at the Confluence that's still there, where he would always tell me, you gotta go down there and check the bald eagles. I could never find them, but I did finally see them. But Howard Sharp or Dante too. I would love to bring Dante in, and and I'll reach out because I do have his contact information. Jeffrey Bull said that Mr. Pugh was the GOAT. He absolutely was. And so we want to celebrate them. And that's what we're going to do in this time, Robin. I'm really excited about doing it. So let's get to today's conversation. Black Americans in 2022. This is what the challenges are for Black America moving forward. And these aren't all of them. However, this is to start a dialogue so that we can begin to have a place of engagement. We know what we need in our community. We've talked about those things over and over and over again. But I want to talk about some of the things that we are going to have to deal with as we move forward in 2023. In 2022, we saw several Black candidates make history and multiple pieces of landmark legislation that became law. Rob, you know what my issue was. The biggest thing that I said was going to be the number one issue for me in that last election cycle was what?
Voting rights.
Voting rights. And I told you that if we didn't move on it, pounce on it right away, what would happen? Something would come in that would be more important. And this happens all the time. And we would not get anything done. And true to prophecy, that's exactly what took place. But we did see that the Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act, which was introduced by Bobby Rush, a Democrat out of Illinois, and signed by President Biden in March, made lynching a federal hate crime. I'm blown away that it took us this long to understand that. The Respect for Marriage Act also passed, extending federal protections for interracial marriages. For those of you who got jungle fever, as Spike Lee would say, and you want to get married to someone, and we are looking at those protections as well. A Collier, she's still out there. She said, Mr. Pugh is the best. Did so much for my granddaughter. We certainly thank you and appreciate that. All right. But one of the issues that I think that Black voters are really upset about, and these are some things that have been caught in gridlock and never made it to the desk. We know that voting rights, I'm going to talk about that, right, Rob? You know it's coming. But white supremacy, and I want to talk about this for a second, Rob, because even in Black communities, I talk to young Black people, and when I bring up the conversation of white supremacy, especially when I talk to white folks about it, people don't understand the impact that white supremacy has on the Black community. Why do you think that is?
White privilege.
I mean,
because it doesn't affect you. Why worry about it? It's not until it actually affects someone you know and love, maybe your wife of color, your husband of color, maybe a stepchild of color. Then, okay, now it impacts me. Otherwise, I don't really care. And this is not to say that all people who are white are not sensitive to
no, absolutely. Absolutely.
There's a lot of them that are. And because they have that privilege, you can walk into a room and not be noticed because they're normally supposed to be there. It's normalcy. But a Black person walks into the same room, all eyes are on that person. So and
I think that there is a misunderstanding of what white supremacy is when we say it, because I tell you, I have conversations, and you know me, I ain't got cat sense. So in any situation, in any racial makeup of a group that's around me, I'm gonna be Kareem. I am who I am. Take it or love it. It is what it is, and I'm not changing for anybody but my Heavenly Father, right? And so the same conversations that I'll have with our community about what needs to take place, I have these same conversations with communities that don't look like us. And so when I bring up the conversation that one of the major issues that affects Black America is white supremacy. White people, they don't want to talk about race, period. But when I talk about white supremacy, it's almost like they feel as though I've called them a racist and that they were responsible for slavery. And if it had not been for them, my forefathers would not have been in chains and shackles. And that is not what we're talking about when we talk about white supremacy. And Black folks, we got to do a better job in terms of the conversations in our own community, because when we bring up words like white supremacy to some of the younger African Americans, they're like, whoa, that's reverse racism. And they talk the same nonsense that other folks are talking, because we have not done a good job of communicating and passing down torches of education and empowerment as it relates to what our historical markers and factors and facts are in our community. So I want to talk, when we talk about white supremacy, because I'll tell you, if I talk about white supremacy, I was like, oh my God, you're a racist. I'm like, Ma, chill, come on, I'm not a racist. I mean, if you look at the people that I consider friends, and my friends, they'll tell you, those especially who are not of the Black persuasion, they'll tell you, no, Kareem's not a racist. I'm passionate about my people. And I think that one of the reasons why people tune into the show every single week, Rob, is because they get to listen to not one, but two Black brothers who do the work and do their due diligence and figure out what's important. And we love our community. What I want y'all to know, city of Saginaw, Michigan Bay region, I love the city of Saginaw. I love Saginaw County. I love the Michigan Bay region. I love Michigan. Okay. So I'm going to lead in. And when it comes to my people, I am not anti-white, but I am very pro-Black. And just because I love my people doesn't mean that I don't like your people or have an issue with your people. But when we talk about white supremacy, we're talking about any system, any ideology, a way of thinking, process of operating that gives a benefit or gives an understanding that how white people would have it done or how white people would do it is somehow preferential or better than the way that we would do it in the hood. What were you going to say, Rob?
Someone might ask, well, then, is there such a thing as, what's the difference between Black supremacy and Black pride or pro-Black? Because if you're pro-Black, does that mean that you're white supremacist? I'm a Black supremacist.
No.
And I'm just saying, that's a question I've seen asked or heard asked.
Okay, I think it's a good question. Thank you for playing devil's advocate. And here's my answer. Now, I love Black people. I think, and I guess maybe I am a Black supremacist when it comes to looking at the beautiful sun-kissed color of our skin. The fact that the rest of the world agrees with me, because when it gets hot, they laying out in the sun trying to get double baked as well. Okay, but no, I am not a Black supremacist. What I when I say Black pride, what I mean is this: I don't. There's nothing about them that I want to be, but I embrace and I love who I've been made to be. When I look at who the people are around me, when I look at how our women are colorful and shaped, when I look at that they are now the prototype of what every other race is trying to go to the plastic surgeons and nip tuck to become, it lets me know that our Black is beautiful.
You're defining Black pride.
That's Black pride.
And that's right, and that's pro-Black, and that's a good thing for me.
Absolutely, but it's not Black. I don't think that we're better than.
Right, exactly. I was going to say Black supremacy means that you're better than, and that everyone else should not be in that same category. That's where white supremacy comes in.
Absolutely.
Or if you're a Black person who thinks that nobody on the planet should be in color but Black, and you suppress that or you use racism.
Well, I'm gonna say this. I do think there are some things that are remarkable about our people.
Nothing wrong with that.
And because I think that those things are remarkable, I don't force those opinions, thoughts, ideologies, or ways upon other cultures. As a matter of fact, I would love to keep them all for ourselves. But we are such a dynamic people.
That's a whole different discussion. That's a whole different discussion.
Rob, you've been around me too long. I knew where I was going. But let's get back to this. So no, it is not Black supremacy. It is a love for my black people and my community and who we are as a people and who God made us be. And that has nothing to do or to take away from anybody else.
Because you're Black?
No, yes, because I'm Black, absolutely. And because I recognize, I love to see resilience. I'm always for the underdog, and I love what our people have done in this world. Terry Reed, the Caucasian emulate everything we do. So my opinion, they like what we represent.
Yeah, I just said that. Thanks, Terry. I just said that.
Terry said that, not myself. But let's get back to it. Rob, you got me on a tangent in a whole other place, but I'm welcome.
Well, what happens when you open a can of worms?
I welcome it. But this is white supremacy, once again, when we talk about it, it is the fact that their ideas, their way of thinking, the way they do things, their positioning, all of those things are preferred or better than other individuals. And so these things find themselves in everything that we do. And when we look at how this nation was derived on the backs of of Black slaves, that was because they felt that they were better and we could be beasts of burdens. And so until systems that operated and use that as fuel for those things to operate or change, there will always be an element of white supremacy in the United States of America and many countries around the world. So Black Americans need the government to do more to confront white supremacy. After a gunman in Target, you saw what happened in Buffalo, New York, those types of things taking place. Listen to this, Rob. A poll found that 43% of Black voters want President Biden to declare similar attacks that we saw in Buffalo, New York, as acts of domestic terrorism, while 33% said white supremacy needs to be declared a national security threat. Rob, what do you think? 43% say that these attacks like we saw in Buffalo, New York, really some of the things that we're seeing in communities around the nation should be considered domestic terrorism. What are your thoughts?
Any act that goes against someone else within your own country is domestic terrorism, no matter what it is, no matter what color the person is doing it. Okay, so we have Malvo years ago who shooting people off for
bringing up Malvo. You were just trying to mess up my whole conversation. Go ahead, I'm messing with you.
Yeah, right. But that's an example of domestic terrorism.
But let me stop you real quick.
Okay.
And I know that everybody does. Y'all, Black people, shame on y'all. Y'all know when that man was going around shooting people, y'all found out that he was a Black man. Y'all like, oh man, yeah, brother. We don't do stuff because we don't do stuff like that. He turned out to be a brother. But
right.
Go ahead. I'll finish your point. I'm sorry.
But all that is in my mind. It's just because when I hear this up on the news, it's terrorism, domestic terrorism, no matter what color person is. Now, I'll tell you, my late mother used to say, because she was a product of her generation, she would say, I hope he's not Black. The moment she hears it on TV and radio, I hope he's not Black. So, there you go. We're parts of our generation. Now, white supremacy, to answer your question about that, that should be outlawed too. If you use any supremacy to downplay or suppress another, ethnicity.
I mean, when you look at what took place in Buffalo, New York, this man said that he was going there to kill Black people.
Right.
And so when we talk about domestic terrorism, and I want to make sure, and Yvonne James, when we get to the comments you share on our social media stream, when we talk about acts of domestic terrorism, the purpose of terrorism is to cause terror, to cause fear, to cause people to have a sense of fear such that it causes them to abdicate very key pieces of their lives. They alter the way that they live out of the fear of being next, right? So when we look at what took place in Buffalo, New York, that was terrorism. How many seniors were afraid to go back? I mean, they had to close the store down for a long period. I mean, honestly, you got to shut that mug down because I'm not going back. I'm going to walk, take the number 2 bus across town because there is a fear that's associated with going back in that place and who's going to be the next copycat. So we have to be aware of those type of things. Yvonne Daniels said, how can Black people be racist? Well, the definition says it is prejudice, discrimination or antagonism against racial or ethnic groups that are minorities or marginalized. We are the minority and we are marginalized. Yes, but we have a lot of power and we got some racist Black folks out there. I ain't even gonna try to play like that ain't true. But racism, the word, the definition itself, and I think this is what she's getting to, it insinuates that there has to be a power base in which is held to push forward an action. Now, we all prejudice. We all have prejudices. Right. I'm prejudiced, Rob. You prejudiced. Yes, Kareem Bowen said it. He is prejudiced. Now, get it together. Don't say that he admitted that he was racist because I'm not racist. I am prejudiced. I'm prejudiced about a lot of things. I don't like pepper or salt on my watermelon. I'm prejudiced against. Those kinds of things. So we all have our issues, right? But Black America disproportionately is more likely to be victims of hate crimes than any other race, according to guess who? The FBI. So this is the stuff that we're making up. These are numbers that are showing up by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And even further, a Pew Research Center survey from April found that 30% of Black adults said that they worry almost every day that they might be threatened or attacked because of their race. Let's talk about that real quick. Rob, do you have an underlying fear that you may have issues that exist in the world, whether it be for police officers or anyone else, because of your race?
Yes. I've been pulled over at least 3 times since I've been living in Michigan, and recall that driving while Black. And the officer that treated me did exactly what I expected him to do in terms of his attitude towards me. After his attitude went off, so I had that attitude. But then I'm more concerned about not me because I'm more wiser and because of where I grew up. I know how to handle myself. I'm concerned about my kid who's in Minnesota, of all places, Minneapolis, and I said, gee, they can look at you.
They shoot everything to move out there, black and
They can look at you and see a black man. They don't know your attitude or anything like that. And if you do the wrong thing, say the wrong thing, not to mention he's dating a white woman,
Oh Lord.
what could happen? So we have issues that go on. So yes, I have a certain concern. I'm not as fearful as I used to be as a youngster.
Right.
When I first called the N-word, sitting on the streets in San Diego, right across the street, and this guy can look to me.
Well, you shouldn't be on the street, Rob. That's the reason why you get called the N-word.
But then you look at the young man who got shot because he wore a hoodie. If I wear a hoodie,
Trayvon Martin.
Right.
Back in the day, say his name, Trayvon Martin.
Trayvon Martin, I think his name at the time. I'm concerned about that sort of thing. So it depends on where you are. And I wonder, am I in the right place at the right time? What is the right place at the right time, or the wrong place at the wrong time? What exactly does that define? I'm concerned about that if I'm in a certain situation as a black man. And the darker I am.
You brought up something, Rob, that I want to jump in on, because oftentimes we tell a negative story about police officers. But I want to tell y'all something, and this directly impacts us that are here in the city, the county, the town. I was driving through the township. This was probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago. It was actually before the Christmas holiday break. And I was passing across, I was going down, was it southbound on Himmeter, crossing over Shattuck Road. Now, my light was green. I went through the light. When I got under the light turned yellow. All right. I need y'all to hear me because I want to share it. I think this is important for us to understand. This is some element of progress, which I was proud of, and I want to share this moment and give them their props. When I got through the light, underneath the light, I could see the light turning yellow. Really yellow, we say means slow down, but yellow, if the light is yellow, you're actually supposed to stop if you can and not proceed. But some of us fly through it, right? I'm trying to be a more responsible driver and trying to follow the law. I was not speeding, which is rare. Because if you see me, I'm putting a Hellcat on two wheels, right? But anyways, so I got probably a quarter mile past that intersection. The police then turned on their sirens. This police officer was nowhere near that intersection. He then pulls me over, probably I would say a quarter mile down Himmeter. I'm probably closer to Weiss Road than I am to Shattuck at this point. And he pulls me over, and I said, "How you doing, officer?" Because now I'm just sitting here like this is. I was talking to someone on the phone, put the phone on the dash, and I'm sitting there having the conversation. "How you doing, officer?" He's like, "Can I have your license and registration?" I was like, "Absolutely." I said, "Would you mind sharing with me what was the reason why you pulled me over?" "I'll tell you that in a minute." So he left, went back, and then he comes back and he says something to me, and I said, "Well, sir, the light was green when I went through it." And he's like, "Well, I was coming down." Right. You was about to say you were sitting at the light and you clearly weren't at the light. So he said, when you went through the light, you blew through a yellow light and it was turning red. It was red when you got under it. I said, "Well, officer, no disrespect, but I'm thinking the only way you could have seen that is if you were at the light." So I clearly went through the light and I said, "Well, hey, my name is, I know what your name is. I just had the license and registration." And I said, "Sir, I'm just trying to make sure that I'm clear as to why I'm not going to be your next YouTube video." I'm sitting thinking to myself, dude is like really tripping, and he is tripping on the road. Wrong, brother. Come on, help me, Holy Ghost, right? I'm scared like because I'm going to go home. But I remembered something that an attorney friend said to me. And I don't know if it was Ayite Sowa, who's an attorney, or someone else, but they said, we often stage our protest at the wrong time.
Exactly.
The time to protest is not when we're being pulled over on the side of the road. Right. The officer is in control. Right. What we must do as community citizens is once the stop has happened, comply with what took place, let them know what you're feeling, and then you make a report. So I pulled myself together. I went and I called the police department, spoke to the township sheriff, which there's a new sheriff because the old one got caught drinking and driving, so he retired early. But that's a whole other conversation, allegedly. So we were sitting here, Rob, and so I got a call, and I'm talking to the new police chief, and this is what the police chief says to me. He says, "How you doing, Mr. Bowen?" I said, "I'm fine, sir. How are you doing? I appreciate your return phone call." He says, "Well, it was important that I got back in touch with you when I heard your message." He says, "I pulled the cops, I guess his camera on his vest, and we pulled all the videos that we could, and we were listening to the videos." He says, "I want to tell you something. One of the things that we're endeavoring, and I'm endeavoring to do here in the township is to change the culture of this police station. And I said, wow, okay. He says there were some things that took place that I didn't appreciate. That I think that he's done a couple of things that were incorrect. And there's a couple of things that we're going to counsel him on. I do understand when you were talking, yes, he was rude to you. I was there like going, am I in the twilight zone? What's going on? Our brother's getting some respect around here. He says, yes, he did some things that were wrong and he was rude. And one of the things that we want to get to is that we're dealing with individuals and we're giving good customer service. He says that's something that we haven't seen in a long time. I said, sir, I really appreciate it. He says, so I want you to know, I'm Mr. Bowen. I'm really serious. And I told him, I said, I think that there are some issues that are there. I'm not going to use the race card, but I think that there are some sensitivities and some misunderstandings and just some cultural differences in terms of how you communicate with people. I think that may be important. Cultural sensitivity is important with dealing with people from different cultures. He says, Mr. Bowen, I agree with you 100%. We've pulled his video. I'm pulling his his training officer in. We're going to go through that videotape and we're going to deal with this situation. I want you to be 100% assured that we are going to have this conversation. And I just want to give kudos, a shout out to Saginaw Township Police. You may not always get it right, but in this situation, I appreciate your compassion. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you in that moment protecting me from officers who have sometimes go awry. And I appreciate you being considerate of the situation. And so then I had to go, I said, you handle this, I'll go to court. Needless to say, I don't have the ticket. The ticket was taken care of. And so I live to drive another day. So sometimes we complain oftentimes about things that are wrong.
The credit is to you though, because of your attitude on that spot at that time. Now, had your attitude been 100, degrees different, then the whole situation would be different. So that's why I was telling my son, I said, comply as best you can. Now, the argument would be, and anyone listening will tell you this, you can still comply, but that officer had a bad day.
I was complying and he would still be a jerk.
Right.
Absolutely.
So thank you for the cams.
Well, absolutely. So cameras, I'm telling you, cameras is what made the George Floyd situation important. If there were no cameras, it would just been another story of Trayvon Martin and all of these other individuals who were killed at the hand of police officers. But cameras and the fact that there was a pandemic that we had nothing else to watch but this to go down, those were the things that made it important. Terry Reed, I watched a police officer pat a man down whose car quit on him in the middle of the street, pat him down before he even asked about his car. Terry, that's where we've got to begin to voice. And the reason it's important to make the report and we never follow through. We as a people, we move on our passion and we never follow through. And the reason it's important to follow through and to file a report is that we then create a track record. And what often happens is that these individuals have other issues in other places, but if you don't make a report and you don't say something, then it never happens. But you write a report, file a report, be mad, just as mad enough to put pen to paper as you were on the moment that they pulled you over. And that is how we get these individuals who don't belong in our community off our streets. I want to give a shout out in this moment to Ayite Sowa and his beautiful wife, Algeria, because they are the ones who came up with the idea of Bridge the Gap. They have placed, and this is so important, 17 minority officers in police stations around Michigan. And they've been doing the work. They've been setting up apprentice programs. This is the kind of change that changes our community, because I don't think what they said to me, I was talking with Brandon Murphy. Was it Brandon Murphy? Yeah, it was Brandon. And he was saying to me, he said, Kareem, every police station team should look like the community in which it resides. And I agree with you 1,000%. My dear cousin Aisha, I certainly want to say wonderful job. She is the first African-American female who is a police officer employed by Saginaw Valley State University. She was treated like a celebrity the last time I saw her out there because they were glad to have a Black presence. And I told her, Aisha, now I want you to do your job, but everything that happens in fraternity houses and campus parties, make sure that you contact Mr. Bowen, because, other folks don't know how to handle our people and they get afraid of us. So contact someone. We can handle these issues. Everybody don't need to go to jail. There's some things that we can mitigate through a conversation. But if you're scared of us, you can't be here. You can't help us. All right. So that was a whole tangent. But I wanted to give a shout out to our new township police chief for doing the right thing in that moment. I hope that continues as we continue to move forward. All right. So one of the other challenges that we have moving forward in Black America, and I'm gonna be real clear about what I'm saying. All right, I need y'all to listen up real quick. We've got to get to a place. Let me share this comment. Yes, we got 4 minutes. Sharice Steele Phillips says the temperament of many people says a lot about the lack of esteem and insecurities, which is often displayed in how they treat others, especially people in positions of power. Boom. Say that one more again. All right, but I want to talk really quick about this. I'm going to say this, Black America, to the village, to the people of the community. We've got to do better in terms of not how we show up to vote, but we've got to do better about having conversations about who we put in office. Let me tell you why, because every other race of people, every other group of people, every other voting block, and whatever you want to call it, they have conversations about who do we want in our as our elected officials. They don't wait till the weeks before, and then we have 9 people voting against each other for one spot. But we have to do better about having these conversations, and we've got to begin to exercise something called a little bit of humility. That means that if you haven't done anything, and I said this when it came to the first term of our state rep of 95th, Amos O'Neill. I was the first person to endorse Amos O'Neill when I found out that he was running for politics and that he was running for elected office. And the reason was because he had a track record. Many people are they're dizzied and amused by the power that a position wields, but they have not put in their time. They have not been actively involved in the community. They've not even built a reputation for themselves of people who are engaging power. And so I told the young white girl, Carly Rose, she's a part of CAP. I told her when she ran for office, and Clint Bryan, I think is his name. I told him, I don't know who you are. I don't know what you do. I don't know where you came from. I don't know what you stand for. I've never seen you at community events. So no, I'm not voting for you. And I said, if you want me to vote for you, this is what you do. Stay involved in our community. Keep the work. I want to see you actively engaged and working. And when I see you doing the work, when you come back, I'll vote for you because I know that you're sincere. You're not just here on a political high. So we've got to begin to talk about that. But one of the things we've got to do is we've got to press our legislators on voting rights. This is a major concern for Black voters moving into 2023. 2 voting rights bills are now stalled in the Senate. The Freedom to Act Vote Voters Act would expand mail-in voting, early voting, and automatic voting registration, while the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act would restore the Voting Rights Act that was gutted of 1965 in response to the Supreme Court decision saying that the Supreme Court no longer was allowed the right to make sure that things and changes that were made to voting would impact people racially. And so we've seen a number of votes take place because that no longer exists. So the John Lewis Voting Rights Act also would address racial discrimination by requiring that any state changes to voting that might discriminate against people based upon their race and federally reviewed. We've got a number of things to do. I appreciate you guys continually for tuning in as we have these conversations that impact the village. And as always, this is not my show. This is your show. This is the People Show. We're talking about the issues that impact our community. I don't talk about events. I talk about things that are going to make a dynamic change and how we can make an impact. It's not about one getting the power and we celebrating one, but it's about all of us coming together so that we can rebuild the village, so that the gates of the village which have been on fire can be put out, and we can continue to raise our community, our generations, with power and dignity and respect. That's all we want. Give peace a chance. We certainly thank you for tuning in today. We need to demand this in state. You're absolutely right. A certain party has a trifecta. Use it. Amen. When you got the power, make it happen. For those of you in Michigan, the Democratic Party has the governors, the state, and both bodies of Congress. So we certainly thank you all. God bless you all, and grace and peace.
Listening to Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on Kiss 107.1. The views and opinions expressed